Are you one of the 75% of contractors whose financial statements are inaccurate? Find out. Click on the link in the show notes and you'll get a free P&L and balance sheet check. Welcome to Contractor Sense. Here you discover ideas, tactics, news, and information that matters to your contracting business and you. I'm your host, Ruth King. This episode is sponsored by Financially Fit Business. Make your financial statements come alive. Stay financially healthy this year. Go to www.financiallyfit.business and get started today. Thank you for joining us. Here is how we will help your business and you. AI has been almost becoming a buzzword. These questions might be going through your head. How do I use AI easily and profitably in my business? How do I use it to scale technologically? How can AI help me make better data-driven decisions? And my favorite one, how can AI reduce the cash outlay of one of our highest cash sucking expenditures, inventory? As you all know, I say inventory is a bet, which it is. Amanda Harp, Director of Strategic Relationships for XOI, gives you the answers to these questions and more. Amanda, welcome to Contractor Sense.
Good morning, Ruth. Thanks so much for having me.
My pleasure. So I guess Aaron Salo is the CEO of XOI, and he's been on the show before, and I guess he was just too chicken to come, right?
just too chicken. That's I'm going to give him a hard time about that, Ruth. I love that. The truth is he's probably too swamped, but let's give him a hard time on that one. I love it.
Absolutely. And and it's funny because you know this stuff and you live, eat, and breathe it every single day. So I mean, for those people who don't know what XOI is, tell them.
Sure. Yeah, I would love to. I have actually had the privilege of working at XOI now for, about 5.5 years, which has been pretty incredible. I think that we've been in business now for almost 12, so close to half of that. And it's been so fun, Ruth, to kind of just watch our technology grow and morph into what it is today. So in short, what I will say is we are a software as a service or a SaaS platform that services the skilled trades, right? Really any sort of specialty contractor that's got technicians in the field, we really focus on. A lot of our customers, though, are going to be folks in the MEP space, primarily that are in the commercial or residential HVAC space. So we get to work with a lot of really, really fine folks. And our goal as a software solution has always been, and it still remains today, what we can do to really help better service technicians in the field. So they are our hero. They will always be our North Star. Our goal is what can we do to just provide them better resources when they are in front of a piece of equipment doing the jobs that they love, right? Working with their hands every day. And so our platform is really focused on providing them those resources. So think about things like manuals and wiring diagrams kind of automatically surfaced to them, historical data automatically surfaced to them, training resources as well in the form of videos, a lot of fun things like that. And then we also help to just collect better data. We make it easier for technicians to kind of collect better data about what's going on in the field. And it's been so fun over the past few years to kind of watch our technology morph from just a technician first tool to also a platform that is providing all of this data that's just kind of coming in organically from the field to the management side, like the leadership side of these businesses, to kind of help them have a much better understanding of what type of equipment are we out there servicing every single day? What are we looking at? What trends are we seeing both in our workforce and just in the equipment itself? So ultimately, we're providing this organic data now that's real data coming in from the field that they can use to make meaningful and impactful business decisions. So, like I said, not to beat a dead horse here, but it's just been really fun to kind of watch that transition to now really being able to service kind of both sides of the business. It's just been a fun little journey.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched it grow. Obviously, Aaron was one of my first guests on when we started the podcast, and he and I were going to debate AI one time, and we both had the same opinion of it, that it's a tool, so there was nothing to debate. But you know
Right.
what one of my favorite things about XOI is actually? Do you have any idea?
I don't, but I'd love to hear it.
I love the fact that you can dictate and the text can dictate and they don't have to write anymore.
Oh my gosh. Listen, you love it, and so do technicians. And what's
I
really,
love
really
that.
cool. I know it is really cool. And I think, look, that's, certain like kind of piece of technology really is kind of just native to whatever device that they're using. However, one thing that we have released within the past, gosh, I don't know, year or so has been, speaking of AI, it's been this really cool AI tool where any sort of notes that they're taking within our platform, you know, where that we're having that automatic, speech to text sort of
Yeah.
situation you're talking about, right? Now
Hmm.
we can take all of that data and use AI to turn it into a work summary for the technician. And in a lot of cases, that work summary can also go back over into whatever FSM that they're using. So now
Hmm.
technicians can use the speech to text to make their job easier. And then they don't even have to write up a separate summary that just XOI just kind of takes all of that and says, here's what you did, here's why you did it, and here was the resolution, and then can kind of pass that on to the customer. So technicians these days are fairly happy, I would say, with XOY kind of taking that
I would
burden off
hope
the
so.
shoulders. Yeah.
I would,
It's
and
fun.
I will tell you, all the people in the offices are just as happy because they don't have to interpret it. Excuse me, excuse me, interpret a handwriting anymore. It
Oh
just
yeah,
makes it
yeah.
so much easier from
Well,
that
and
perspective.
grammatical, yeah, grammatical errors too. I mean, as you well know, like AI is certainly not perfect, and there's a lot of training that kind of comes with it, right? You want to make sure that it's kind of speaking in your voice, but putting that aside, I think it does take just a lot of burden, to your point, not just off the technicians, but also the folks back in the office, because they don't have to worry about making sure that there wasn't a maybe a dirty word that slipped out, or something like that. They could
Yeah, I mean, and the
terrible.
reality of it is it's, the guys in the field can actually speak a whole lot better than they can write,
Yeah.
and always have been better speakers than writers. Most of them didn't go to school really well and do really well in school. They're very good visually, they're very good auditorily, and so they can speak and explain what's going on a whole lot better than they can write it down. And they hate to write. This makes it easy.
It does. It makes it easy, and honestly, we don't really care that they don't like to write, as long as they can get our air conditioner back on, right?
That's
So
right.
at the end of the day, is if we can just help to kind of keep them focused on, the task at hand, I think everybody wins, even the customer. So, yeah, that's a really fun one, and I love hearing that. I'm definitely going to pass it along to the team because that's it's one of our favorites too.
It should be. I mean, you know, and I understand there's tons of technology behind the software and tons of programming and all the other, because I've done the same thing with what we're doing. But the reality is sometimes it's the very, very simple things like talk to text that make everything work, seamlessly. And we don't
It's
think
so
about
true.
it.
It's so true. You're right.
We absolutely don't think about it. Okay, before we take a break, believe it or not, if somebody
Oh,
wants to
wow.
get a hold of XOI, how do they do that?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways. First of all, I'm not sure, Ruth, if you'll be able to provide my contact information, but certainly anyone is welcome to reach out to me directly, and I can put them in touch with the right person. They also can go to our website, which is xoi.io. And there's a number of different places on our website where they can choose to, like, have someone reach out to them or to schedule a demo, and I can promise that someone will reach out probably within about 5 or 10 minutes. So there's a lot of different ways, but I am always happy and to serve as a resource. And then, our website's just got a ton of really great resources and then ways to kind of get in touch with the right folks on our team.
Sounds great. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense. We'll be right back. Imagine you had total freedom. You didn't have to worry about money. You didn't have to be a slave to your business. The words, I can't, are eliminated from your vocabulary. What if you could do what you want to do whenever you want to do it? A financially fit business could give you that freedom. How? By knowing what your financial statements are telling you and taking action based on what they say. You can do this in less than 10 minutes a month at an investment of less than taking your family out to dinner once a month. And if your financial statements are a mess, you can get help. Go to www.financiallyfit.business or click on the QR code below to get started today. We're back. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense. I'm speaking with Amanda Harp, who is the Director of Strategic Relationships for XOI. And before the break, we were talking about the fact that, something very simple like voice to text has made everybody's life so much easier with XOI. But I want to spend the last amount of time, Amanda, that we have together with one of my favorite I don't know. I shouldn't say favorite, but it's one of the things that causes the most cash issues with respect to contractors. And it's not somebody not paying their bills. It's inventory. Because whenever you buy something, unless you are selling it immediately, inventory is the bet. And if you make bad bets, you have tons of stuff in your warehouses. And I've seen the warehouses. So I know there's a lot of stuff in there. So let's talk about inventory and XOI. Will that work?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And you're right. I mean, we have found over the years that this continues to just kind of be an area that seems to be a little bit of a mystery. Although, on one hand, you think, gosh, it really shouldn't be, right? Like you should know what you have and know what you need. But it just doesn't work that way. I mean, there's humans involved, right? So there's going to be a lot of mistakes along the way. And I think there's kind of a number of different ways that XOI addresses inventory. I think, look, on one hand, there is inventory if we're thinking about a contractor, right? It's just trying to keep up with how many parts do they have and what do they need. And then I think on the other hand, you also have maybe larger businesses or clients of these contractors who have no idea what their inventory of assets are, right? So there's a couple of different ways that I think XOI addresses that. My gut tells me that what you're probably alluding to, though, is more on the contractor side. And so
Yes.
I'll speak to that first. I think um, one of the ways that XOI first kind of addresses this, and just hang with me because it kind of starts from the very beginning of a first job that a technician does with any clients for that company. If you recall, XOI has what we call
Now,
okay.
what they have is you can do an inventory of assets or whatever's in there.
Well, yes, what I'm thinking of though is we have what's called optical character recognition.
Oh,
or,
OCRs.
or
Yeah.
OCR technology, right? And so the
Yeah.
reason that this is important is because there's no way that you can really kind of have accurate asset records if you don't know what types of assets that you're working on, right? And so to kind of take that burden off of a technician and allow them to just take an image of a data plate. When they do that, XOI automatically pulls make, model, and serial. So now we're not only getting this consistent asset information, what are we actively working on, right, for our clientele, but we're also making sure that we're getting that data accurately too. And it really can kind of help with just number one, getting that information, but also avoiding duplicate entry and that sort of thing. But the reason that this is important and where I'm going with this is that if you know what types of assets that you're working on, you now have a much easier kind of road to make sure that you're ordering the right parts and that you're using the right parts and that you've got enough kind of an inventory right to serve the clients that that you've got on your roster. So I think everything really starts with that. The other way really that XOI helps with inventory is when you kind of think about a technician who's got a truck full of different parts. XOI has the ability to through like our workflow system for them to be able to say, I used these particular parts today, and then have those particular parts kind of like notify someone back in the office that that needs to be taken out of inventory. And it can do that fairly immediately. So we know what we're working on through the optical character recognition. We've got a really clear indication of what that looks like. And then we can also really make sure that we're notifying the right people back in the office once specific pieces of inventory have been used. So now we know that we can very quickly replenish those. And then at the end of the year, there's some kind of fun reporting on the back end to show what types of units are we seeing more often, makes and models, that sort of thing. What OEMs are we working with the most? And then, thus like what types of parts are mostly being used. So there's some fun reporting on the back end that can really kind of help with that.
You are using fun in quotes, right?
Yeah, yeah, I am. It's easy for someone who's not in the field to say something is fun, right?
Yeah,
Especially in the
exactly.
dead of winter. So good call. Good call.
No, the thing is, it's really important because I'm looking at it from a maintenance perspective too. All right, so the techs are out working on it. They're out doing their maintenances. They're out, taking the pictures. They're out doing the things that they need to do, and actually talking through the things that are going on. And so whoever is responsible for the oversight of maintenance this is really easy. It's a cool report for you. And I'm using cool in quotes again, too.
Right,
But
right.
but it makes it very, very easy for somebody who is overseeing this maintenance agreement to go to the customer and say, here's all the reports, here's all the work that we did. You can see this is doing X, Y, Z, A, B, and C, and you may want to put that in your asset budget for next year for potential replacement. I mean, it just makes life so much
Oh,
easier.
absolutely. And to be honest, that's a really kind of fantastic segue into the other point that I was also thinking about with from an inventory standpoint, which would be not necessarily just from the contractor's perspective, but their client's perspective, right? Because you've kind of hit the nail on the head for XOI to be able to pull a report and go to them and say, here's a list of all of your resources. A lot of clients don't have that. They don't have that active list, or if they do, it's out of date. So number one, just for XOI to be able to even provide that and provide that accurately, kind of removing the human error from it,
Yes.
really, I think really goes a long way. The other thing too, Ruth, that I would be kind of remiss if I didn't bring up is a new feature. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. It's called our Premium Insights feature. And essentially what this does is anytime that a technician takes an image of a data plate, what we're able to do on the back end is provide what we're calling like enriched data, meaning that now we can provide an additional 50 to 80 data points on that particular unit. So think about things like filters and bands, band sizes, and what type of coolant is this? Is this
Yeah,
unit
it's going to be
using
important.
R22? Right, exactly. So we're able to kind of flesh out all of this additional data that, to be honest, a company certainly could collect, but they would have to manually go in somewhere and enter that information. And we know that that's not happening. Folks are just too busy. Technicians are too busy. And so what XOI does is, I keep saying this a lot, but we kind of take that burden again off of the technician and off of the back office, because all that has to be done is just take an image of that data plate. And now all of these additional data points can be used to kind of filter or enrich the data that you're getting about the assets that you're working on. And so when we think about capital planning, right? I mean, to be able to go to their clients and say, not only here is a full list of all of your assets that you have, that you own, but here are all of the different pieces, right, that are going to be meaningful to you. And then that kind of all goes back to inventory, right? It can help the customer with capital planning, but it can also help the contractor to know, what are we really working on? What do we really need to be ordering and keeping in stock? And are we seeing any sort of highs and lows throughout the year at certain times of the year for certain makes and models, or manufacturers? So it's really, really cool. And I have to say that this Premium Insights is probably, of all the time that I've been at XOI, this is not only my favorite feature that we've released, but I think the most impactful for our customers that we've released.
Very good. Final thoughts.
All right.
So, final thoughts that you have about AI and XOI and
Yeah.
inventory and technology.
Yeah. So I think I'll just do one last little plug here for AI, for any, maybe any businesses out there that are kind of thinking about how can and how should we use AI. And this is really unrelated to XOI, by the way. So this is just kind of my humble opinion and 2 cents. But one of the things that I think XOI has done really well when we think about AI is we think about it, to your point, Ruth, as just another tool. So it's not the answer to everybody's problems. And it comes with really can come with a lot of risk and opportunity for mistake. And so what we've tried to do as a technology provider is say, how can we use AI as a layering tool, right? So we have to have the right things in place first. And if we have the right nuts and bolts and kind of like main pieces together first, how can we layer AI on top of that to just make that data kind of be even more meaningful? And I think any business can kind of use that as well, right? Whether you're thinking about XOI or not, if you're looking to deploy some sort of AI out there, it's not going to be the answer to everything, but it certainly can be a nice layering tool, right, to kind of help get you to the next level. So
Absolutely.
it's
So,
a new
Amanda,
frontier, but a fun one.
yeah, XOI.io. Amanda, thank you so much for being with us.
Likewise, thanks so much, Ruth. It's been fun. And no,
Likewise.
no air quotes.
Nowhere. And thanks to all of you for joining us. Choose one thing that you discovered and implement it in your business. These ideas, tactics, and strategies help you make more money, have more free time, and give back. If you like today's program, spread the word. Please review this podcast on any device you're listening to it on. Help a fellow contractor make more money, too. For comments or questions, call me at 770-729-0258 or email Ruth King at hvacchannel.tv. Thanks for listening. Have a great and profitable day.